another unprotected form of expression, a form of expression that is not protected by our First Amendment guarantees to freedom of speech, is libel. Libel is the defamation of character in written or broadcast form. This is an instance when a media outlet presents information about somebody that is clearly false and inaccurate and harms the person's character. For instance, let's say a TV news program or newspaper reports erroneously that a business person has been involved in all of these corrupt deals, or reports erroneously that an individual has been involved in an extramarital affair, or accused of a crime that the person, in fact, did not commit. So in these instances, when the media outlet reports factually incorrect information about someone that harms their character, that leaves the media outlet open to allegations of libel and potential libel suits against particular media outlets or individuals employed at those outlets. Now, it is much more difficult for a public figure to prove cases of libel and to successfully win libel cases. Court cases have identified public figures as people that get a lot of attention in the media, government leaders, politicians, celebrities. These public figures, to win a libel case, they not only have to prove that the information that was reported about them in the media was wrong and erroneous and that it harmed their character, but they have to prove that the media outlet was aware that the information was false and inaccurate and published it anyway. In other words, the public figure has to show that there was a certain degree of malice on the part of the media outlet to really distribute this damaging information about the person that they knew was untrue. Now, media outlets that are accused of libel have a number of legal defenses to try and get libel suits dismissed. One common defense is what is referred to as qualified privilege. This is when a journalist or a reporter simply reports or reiterates information that is presented in a court proceeding or some government document. So there may be some very damaging information about people that that is reported in court proceedings, but when a journalist simply reiterates that information from that court proceeding, that is covered by qualified privilege. A media outlet can also be immune to charges of libel if the incident took place in the context of opinion and the presentation of opinion. So let's say that certain individuals were attacked or criticized on a talk show by Rush Limbaugh or by Rachel Maddow. That those shows are considered to be a forum for opinion and comment, and media outlets cannot be held accountable for libel if individuals are being criticized on those opinion shows. And then finally, programs that are engaged in satire and comedy also have much greater license to criticize individuals. So, for instance, a Saturday Night Live sketch might mock some individual or celebrity, and that is permitted under libel law. Another form of unprotected expression is obscenity, which is a certain type of representation or portrayal of sexuality in media content. And actually, the particular definition of obscenity has been rather vague and ill-defined over the years. The definitive conception of obscenity under the law was established in a 1973 case, Miller versus California. In that case, the U.S. Supreme Court laid out 3 criteria that must be met for a particular piece of work or media content to be labeled obscene. For the first criterion, the average person in a community has to find that the material as a whole appeals to a prurient interest. Now, there's a couple of important parts of this first criterion. First, it has to be an average person. Something is not labeled obscene because 1 or 2 people in a city or town may object to some film for being overly sexually explicit. Instead, it has to be an average person. Also, it has to be an average person in a local community. The Miller test for obscenity is based on a local community standard rather than a broader national standard. Here, there's an understanding that the United States is a really big country and there are different cultural values in different regions, so that the Supreme Court acknowledged that what people in Hartford may find obscene may be very different than what people in Nebraska or Utah consider to be obscene. All right, so an average person in the local community. Also, the fact that the person has to find that the material as a whole appeals to a prurient interest. As a whole is a very important clause here in the sentence. In order for something to be labeled obscene, we have to look at a film or a TV show or a piece of work as a whole. We can't just pick out any particular incident or part of the program or the content as objectionable. All right, so that just because a film shows a woman's breasts or a man's penis, we can't then just dismiss that entire film as obscene. All right, we have to look at it, as a whole. All right, in terms of the context of the overall piece of work, and then that the average person has to find that this material appeals to a prurient interest. What that means is that this allegedly obscene media content arouses people. It arouses people's baser, crasser instincts. The second leg of this 3-part definition is that the material has to depict or describe sexual content in a patently offensive way. All right, so the material can't simply represent sexuality. It has to do so in a way that people in a local community would find very offensive. And then the third criterion requires that the material as a whole lack serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. Again, this is really an important part of this overall definition because it says that when we're evaluating any piece of work, a TV show, a film, or a radio show, we have to look at that work as a whole and really assess whether or not there are certain redeeming qualities to that a piece of media. If it's a film, perhaps that there is artistic merit to that film, that there may be sexually explicit scenes in the film, but the film might be presenting some broader artistic statement about some aspect of modern life, or a TV show with explicit representation of sex or sexuality might be making some larger political point. So here, when we're evaluating whether or not something is obscene, we can't just pick out randomly one particular part of the show or media content that we have to that we're objecting to. We have to look at it as a whole, and we have to look at the representation of sexuality and sex in that media content as a whole and see whether or not there is some kind of broader redeeming merit to that work. Is it artistic? Is it literary? Does it comment on political issues? And if it indeed does have some higher-minded value, some literary, artistic, political, or scientific value, then we cannot label it obscene, and we cannot censor that media content because it is not considered to be obscene.